Chelsea have crushed Nottingham Forest, leading to the sacking of manager Ange Postecoglou. And in this video, we're going to be breaking down how they did it. We're going to be taking a look at the way that Nottingham Forest initially stifled Chelsea's progression in that first half, the tactical change that Enzo Maresca made in the second half to turn everything around, and we're going to be taking a look at every single goal to work out how Chelsea got this crucial win. Chelsea were somewhat lacklustre in the first half against Nottingham Forest, and I believe this is down to a couple of reasons. The first one being the team selection that Enzo Maresca picked. While he is limited due to the amount of injuries and due to the amount of players that are actually out of the squad, the team that he actually picked lacked a cohesion and a creativity for them going forwards. This is then compounded by the way that Nottingham Forest decided to set up. Instead of opting for something of a 4-3-3, they looked to utilise the 3-5-2, and this meant that Chelsea had a trouble progressing the ball through the centre of the pitch. This is also down to the way that Nottingham Forest decided to use their midfielders, opting for something of a man-mark system, pinning themselves onto that Chelsea 3 of Gusto, Lavia and Santos. And because of the fact that they're not necessarily too press resistant, the way that Nottingham Forest wanted to go forwards and pin themselves onto those Chelsea players meant that Chelsea weren't really able to progress the ball forwards, especially through those central areas. Nottingham Forest's aggression put through from Ange Postecoglou meant that it made Chelsea's life a little bit more difficult, and even when Reece James wanted to invert into midfield, a player like Morgan Gibbs-White would just drop onto him, and it would make life so much more difficult for Chelsea, leading to quite a few turnovers. And it's moments like this and turnovers like this that really did start to hurt Chelsea. Take this for an example. You've got Malo Gusto on the ball here currently. He's driving forwards into midfield, but look at his midfield partners. You've got Santos, who is currently being marked by Sangare. You've got Lavia, his midfield partner in a deeper level, being marked by Douglas Luiz, and even if he tried to pass to Reece James, which is the pass that he actually opts for, you've got Morgan Gibbs-White right here who's ready to pin himself onto Reece James to prevent that pass. It's a matter of really trying to play that pass but not really having the option, and when he plays it blind, it means that he's not able to put the correct weight on it. It means that Nottingham Forest are able to capitalise due to that aggression that I mentioned earlier, and it means that Chelsea are really on the back foot here, unable to really allow themselves to get into the game through their passing game, through the centre of the pitch, and it led to Nottingham Forest having quite a few chances, especially this one right here, which should have been converted, and a couple of others Nottingham Forest should have been converted. They should have been a couple of goals up, but they weren't, and it allowed Chelsea to get back into the game. Half-time rolls around and Chelsea need to change something. Enzo Maresca needed to change something, and that he did. He made a triple substitution, removing Garnacho, Lavia and Santos and opting for Gu, Gittins and Caicedo. Gittins giving that added pace, that dynamism, that directness. Gu really linking play, but more importantly, it's the knock-on role that it gives to João Pedro, allowing him to drop a little bit deeper into that Santos attacking midfield role, linking with Caicedo, who, with his press resistance, allows Chelsea to be that little bit more comfortable with that Nottingham Forest aggression. And then when you're looking to go forwards, you're starting to have that link with Reece James, who comes into midfield. The movement and the passing of Caicedo allows for them to start to go through those Nottingham Forest lines, giving Gusto the license to then go forwards, and João Pedro, with his driving ability and his ability to utilise his own momentum with the ball, go forwards and then try to take that space. It's incredibly important, and João Pedro dropping that little bit deeper really gave Chelsea that ability to start to move forwards. It was actually João Pedro driving with the ball and forcing a foul out on that far left-hand side that led to this Chelsea goal, initially coming from a fantastic Pedro Neto cross, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But what this actually led to was Achampong being able to get in the centre of the box, creating a numerical overload in that penalty area. On top of that fact, Nottingham Forest weren't good enough in being able to pick up those extra markers, meaning that when the ball started to really progress down this Chelsea left-hand side, that Nottingham Forest right-hand side, it meant that there were too many Chelsea players to mark, and Nottingham Forest were too busy ball watching. You've got Sangare not necessarily marking a player. You've got Achimpong and obviously Gu onto Murillo, giving him a bit of a problem. And then when you've got Pedro Neto driving forwards, getting that 1v1 capability against Nico Williams, it allows for Chelsea to then start to get some momentum. A brilliant quality cross coming in from Pedro Neto, a fantastic cross, goes onto the head of Achimpong, who is completely free. As I said, Nottingham Forest not marking correctly enough and really giving Chelsea that massive opportunity. It's a fantastic header and really well taken, and it gives Chelsea that lead that they so desperately desired. But it was also utilising Caicedo and his ability to not only break up play, but also be that link for their defence through their midfield and into their attack. It gave them a foothold, it gave them a dominance that allowed them to go forwards. But it was also the defensive tactics that allowed for Chelsea to really get back into the game. Utilising Caicedo onto Luiz, Pedro onto Sangare and Gusto onto Anderson gave Chelsea that man-v-man defensive marking that Nottingham Forest utilised to such great effect in that first half. In doing that, it prevented Forest from doing the same thing that Chelsea wanted, playing through the middle, forcing them into situations that they didn't really want to. Chelsea upping the tempo gave them that momentum to then push forwards and get themselves a few goals. It was that off-the-ball aggression from Moises Caicedo and Chelsea that led to them turning the ball over, creating some interplay and then driving forwards. Gu getting that all-important foul that you see right here. It creates this dynamic, a free kick with Pedro Neto and Reece James just on top of the ball. Now, a couple of things we really need to notice here. The first thing is the wall here, because while it looks like they are perfectly set and it looks like Sels is ready, what they actually do is really clever. Reece James just rolls his foot over the ball and it creates a different angle. But not only that, is it creates a bit of panic within the Nottingham Forest ranks. So what this does is it means that Jesus, who's just on the edge of that Nottingham Forest wall, he just moves a little bit, and that creates a completely different angle, one that allows Pedro Neto to not necessarily be as precise as we would normally expect. It allows him to fire it at goal, and it just ends up being far too much for Sels. I think he's a little bit lead-footed, but I really wouldn't take too much away from him due to the power and due to the accuracy of the strike of Neto. It should be dealt with initially due to a goalkeeper of his standard, but really it's a fantastic hit, and if it wasn't for that little piece of ingenious movement from Reece James, it might not have gone in the first place because of the movement of that wall. Really clever, and Chelsea go 2-0 up. Finally, guys, before we end, let's take a look at Chelsea's third and final goal. This is the result of a corner that Chelsea get late on into the second half, and it seems to be something that follows Ange Postecoglou around his side's inability to defend corners, and this situation is no different. Because of the way that Chelsea are able to pressure Sels, it gives them an added bonus because it causes that little bit of havoc and that little bit of chaos. So when the ball actually does get whipped in, Sels isn't able to get a proper connection on it. I mean, just look at the melee here. We're going to get a better look at it in just a moment. So when the ball comes back out towards Reece James, we're going to get a better look at it here. Look at Sels. Tosin is just jumping that little bit higher. That puts him off. He doesn't have enough protection, Sels, and these Nottingham Forest players are not doing a good enough job of making sure either they get their head onto the ball first or they're protecting their goalkeeper. It means that there's almost a melee in the centre of the box, and it means that when Sels does punch the ball, he doesn't get enough purchase on it. It ricochets over towards Reece James, who's just on that penalty spot, and then from there we know what he's capable of. He controls the ball pretty brilliantly, fires it into the goal, and Chelsea go 3-0 up. A thoroughly deserved victory. They got a little bit fortunate in the first half, but in the end, I think they thoroughly deserved that win, and they move themselves that little bit closer to the top of the table. But of course, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. What did you make of the game? What did you make of Nottingham Forest? And of course, what did you make of Chelsea? What did you make of that performance? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learnt something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.